Hi everybody. I am making a video as a continuation of my previous video, which was about my mom and about reconciliation and about compassion and understanding and the conversation that she and I had recently. And it has been a very up and down week with my mom, just in her health. She has congenital heart failure and she had a lot of heart pain this week. And when that happens, obviously it causes fear. And sometimes she will want to call the ambulance and want to go to the hospital or get medication or, feel better. She wants to feel better. And I can't comprehend that, but I can. I have dealt with a lot of things that also cause a lot of fear. And so I feel like now in the role that I am with my mom, she's 89 years old and preparing to transition from this earth. And quite honestly, she's ready to go. She said last week that she just prayed that she would fall asleep and not wake up, which, to be honest, I'm at peace with because of all the work that we've been able to do in the last year. I say work, but she may not see it that way because it's been work for me to try to feel better with her. And in so doing, I think that has also helped lighten her heart. We had a follow-up conversation to the conversation that we had last week. And she's been surprising me. She's really been surprising me, the things that she said that I didn't think she would say. Like on Saturday, a couple of days ago, we had a conversation and she just said, I want to thank you for calling me as frequently as you do and for being there and talking to me. And that surprised me that she said that. And I said, Mom, I think about you all the time. And she says, I think about you guys all the time too. And she's not one to usually say stuff like that. So it feels like our conversation opened some things up, which is all I could ever hope for. And so we talked about, she brought some things up on Saturday that I'm not used to hearing from her. And I said, Mom, I just wanted to reiterate how much I appreciate the conversation we had the other day and how grateful I am that we talked about those things, and to hear that you apologized or you understood me really means a lot to me. And I just want to thank you for that. And she said, well, it helped relieve a lot of angst for me as well. And that's truly all I could really hope for with her, is that I just want her heart to be lightened as she's transitioning from this earth. And it just eases pain that has been around for a long time. And it just releases it for all of us. So we had that conversation, and then she was really contemplating going into hospice care, which I understand hospice care because I lived with my dad in 1987 when he was diagnosed with cancer, and we had hospice nurses come in. So I understand the process, but I was 17 at that point. So way different mentality that I have now. And my sister has been helping my mom tremendously through this whole process. So my sister and my mom went through the hospice process and had a nurse come in and kind of explain what it was all about and how it would work. And I don't know what my mom was thinking. I don't know what my sister was thinking, but going through the process really helped them clarify what it would actually look like. And for my mom, it would mean they said, because hospice is really comfort care. It's about making somebody comfortable in the last stages of their life. And I don't think my mom's there yet. Even though she's ready to go, she's not quite there yet physically. And they said that they would have to take her off of her heart medication, which helps her heart beat more calmly. And she doesn't want to do that. And so she kind of decided that right now is not the time for hospice, which I agree. And I think my sister agrees with that as well. It's my mom's choice. But we were just there to kind of help her and guide her through that and have that conversation. So after the nurse was in the house, my sister was there, and she texted me and said, hey, give me a call if you want to talk about anything, if you have any questions or whatever. So I did. And we talked a lot about my mom, talked a lot about all this going on. And I cannot iterate to my sister enough how thankful I am for the fact that she's helping my mom like she is. You know, there was a point in time where I didn't know what this stage would look like because my mom and sister never really got along in life. And I'm thinking, I don't know if Nancy can stand to be around my mom during this part. And she is. And she said that they're doing great. They're getting along really well. It's probably maybe the best they ever have. And that in the last 3 years, they've really only had 2 instances where things have kind of boiled over, which amazes me because they just didn't get along when we were kids. And we talked a lot. I really wanted to give my sister space to vent and to talk to somebody who understands what mom is like. My mom is extremely impatient and extremely judgmental, and the nurses are never fast enough, and she can't get things done as quickly as she wants. And I can understand that to some degree. She doesn't have anything else that's pressing or that she's thinking about, but my sister is dealing with that, and she's doing a great job. So we really talked about mom, about hospice, about where she's at right now, about what my sister is dealing with, and I was in my head. I'm thinking, I wonder if I will be able to talk to my sister about the video I made recently last week with the conversation I had with my mom. I wonder if the opportunity will come up, and it did. I just wanted to go into it organically, and the opportunity arose. And I just said, Nance, I wanted to share a conversation that I had with mom recently. And it made me sneeze. Ooh, it's allergy season. So I said, Nance, I had an amazing conversation with mom recently. And I said, I entered into it with compassion and understanding. And I just wanted mom to know I wasn't rehashing the past, but I wanted to bring some things up. I told my sister that I have been reading my sophomore journals that I wrote when I was a sophomore in high school, and how angry I was at that time. And my sister knows all too well about my mom's relationship with Sid and how hard that was and what a horrible time that was for everybody. And so I told her about the video and how I just said, Mom, I really feel like I lost you. I lost my mom during this time. And my mom said, well, you did. And my sister answered, you did. And I said, Nancy, we did. And so I really see, and I want Nancy to know that I understand and see her pain as well. And hold on one second. All right. So I talked to my sister and told her that I had lost my mom and that I had written that in my sophomore journals. And she understood that I did. And then I also shared that, just sharing the suffering that we both had to go through. And so we kept on talking about this in ways that, I told her about reading through my sophomore journals, about writing a book, about what my book is about how a nervous system becomes dysregulated and can lead to illness like multiple sclerosis, and how a nervous system goes through survival mode. And I told her about survival mode, and I didn't talk too much about Dr. Joe using his name, but I'm using a lot of concepts that I know and that I've learned, like survival mode, and telling her about that we were both in survival mode. And I don't know if she knows knows to look at it that way, about the chemicals that produces in the body and what that leads us to go through. And I talked to her about memory, and I talked about some of the things that I've learned from my mom recently. My mom told me that her husband, Sid, wanted, because Sid had an ex-wife who died, Marianne, and she died of a thyroid issue that they could have easily taken care of, but they are Christian Scientists and didn't believe in that, and his wife died. After Sid married my mom, he wanted her to dye her hair blonde and wear Marianne's old clothes. He literally wanted her to become his ex-wife. And I told my sister that, and she's like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? Excuse me, I had to cuss there, but because she didn't know that. She didn't remember that. And I told my sister that trauma erases some memories, and that there's so many things that happened that we both dealt with in survival mode. And it brought us together. It gave us an opportunity to come back together. And I talked about how it wasn't normal. What we went through was not normal. It was familiar. And that's a Dr. Joe thing. And she said, oh my God, you're right. She'd never looked at it that way. We were so used to the up and down of life that we thought that was normal. It wasn't normal. It wasn't normal for Sid to make me go to marriage counseling with him and my mom because I told my mom how I felt about him, that I don't like him. And I said that from the very beginning, before they ever got married. And so my mom would ask me how I felt. I would tell her that I was mad at Sid, that I don't like Sid. And then Sid made me go to marriage counseling. And my sister's like, again, what the fuck? She didn't remember that. And so by me saying those things and by speaking confidently about my book, about reading my journals, and not rehashing the past, I'm rewriting the past. I'm literally writing my book and rewriting, putting the words to it, putting the emotion to it, noticing what the emotion was, and reframing that and rewiring my body. And by having this conversation with my sister, it's so enormously healing for both of us. We stopped talking when my oldest daughter graduated from high school in 2019. We stopped talking for a while because of something that happened at my daughter's graduation. And I really got my feelings hurt that night. And I was going through a divorce. I was really having to draw boundaries with the people that were hurting me in my life. And so I had to draw a boundary with my sister, and it was tough. It was hard to draw that line, to not talk to her for a while. I needed to do that for me. I needed to get my space and to figure out who I am and what was going on with me, especially going through divorce. And we look at that night differently. I know that I see things differently than she does. And yesterday when we talked, I brought up something that Dr. Joe says, that 50% of what we remember isn't even true. And she goes, what? I said, yeah, that's a line I got from Dr. Joe. And she goes, well, you and I have definitely experienced that. And I was wondering if we would get to that part of the conversation. And then right when we got there, my caregiver walked in the door and I had to leave. I had to move on. But this really opened the door for future conversation with my sister. And that is so healing. And I just see what's happening in this last week with my mom and my sister as the culmination of years of counseling that I've been doing, years of the work that I've been doing with Dr. Joe. I've been doing Dr. Joe's work since 2019. And I am a zillion % different now than I was then. I'm able to feel compassion more understanding, more, I don't need to prove anything. And talking to my sister yesterday was such a beautiful representation of the work that I've done and the ability for me to step into a conversation and not feel anxiety. I didn't have any anxiety talking to her. I didn't have any worry about watching my words. I was conscious. I was conscientious of my words, but I wasn't worried about saying what I needed to say. We ended up talking about some friends of mine from high school, and one of my friends, John, she knows really well, and she goes, how is he doing? And he drinks too much still. And I said, Nancy, I've had a hard time with John, but the last couple times I've talked with him, I told myself that I am in command of me and that I'm not going to lower myself to his frequency. In order for us to have a conversation, he needs to come up to where I am. Otherwise, I'm not going to meet him there. I'm not going to go down. I've been there before. I'm not going back there. And I love that I was able to say that to her because that's how I feel. And when I'm speaking with her, it will be the same thing. If and whenever we get to the next phase of our conversation, I will stay in my vibration. That's how I heal. I can't do it any other way anymore. I've done that way too long. We also talked about my friend Key, and Key's dad died recently. My sister was very surprised to know that. So she texted him last night and just said, hey, condolences, I'm sorry. And I was surprised that she texted him. It's been years since they've talked. But then Key called me today and said, dude, I had a really surprising text last night. And I said, I know, from my sister. And he said, I just wanted to let you know that it was a very nice text. And he read the whole thing to me. And at one point, my sister said, that she and I had been through some rocky times lately, but it's getting better. And so just hearing that I know it's getting better, I feel like it's getting better. The fact that my friend relayed that to me is reiteration of that. And it's just kind of a full circle moment too. Key and Nancy were great friends back in high school. And we've had a lot of really good times, the three of us. So it is profoundly healing to be able to talk like this. And 3 years ago, 2 years ago, there's no way I would have thought I would be having this conversation or making this video right now, feeling like I am reconciling with my sister. A couple years ago, my mom said, I just would like you and your sister to get along. And I said straight up, Mom, that's not going to happen, because I didn't think it would. I just didn't see it happening. And now it is. And so I've dreamt about it. I've envisioned it. And as I do envision it, I feel good things happening. Most importantly, I feel myself showing up as me. And that's what happened yesterday. That's the only way I can do it from here. That's the only way I will do it from here, using my voice. And my fifth center has cleared out so much doing this work that I can speak completely from my heart. And I'm just so thankful and happy to be able to make this video right now and to be in this space. It's healing. It is healing. So as always, love, love, love everybody, and keep going, keep going, keep going. Take care.